What's going on, everyone? We're not going to say workforce in this case because this is a reintroduction to Work to Game. Chris had the realization that, with everybody new flowing into the community, now might be a great time to jump in. So I didn't even let you say, hey, Chris. So why don't you jump in and introduce us and tell us where they can find us Monday through Friday.
So Monday through Friday, we stream on Twitch from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. as a minimum. We also film videos live over there. Brian often takes over in the afternoons until 5. So we are live somewhere between 30 and 40 hours a week on Twitch. Brian posts to his channels, mostly centered under Ginger Prime. And then from there, you can find a whole host of channels underneath him. I publish to Gaming Kinda. And then this channel is where we come together to collaborate. It's been a lot of different things over nearly 5 years of creating content here, but moving forward, its goal is to be collaborative in nature, and it's Brian and I together. And so if you like any one part of that, the guides he makes, anything like that, anybody as we look into Endwalker and you want his controller guides, the ultimate one will be here to kind of get people started and people who are used to finding it here. But that's going to point to those are going to go live with you.
Yeah, so, honestly, this has been a really exciting week. I mean, today we've been just hanging out and chatting, and as you click on a Savage sign, we record these a little bit in advance. So I think on Tuesday you're doing Tanko Tuesdays. But you're right, like as people have coming to check out this game, people right now, the debate that's going on is which is bigger, is WoW bigger, is 14 finally overtaken it, is this the year that it happens? And I honestly just look at both as a roller coaster. Like sometimes 14 I feel is in the lead, sometimes WoW it is when they have content at the core of it. But at the end of the day, there's been, we obviously see a lot of new people coming in, asking questions about the game. They're checking it out for the first time. So it's a good idea to kind of sit down and kind of talk about, hey, how did we get started? What do we like to play? What do we like to cover here on the channel? And then you kind of gave a good synopsis of Gaming Kinda and Ginger Prime as well. But what got us started, and what can people expect from us going into Endwalker here on Work to Game outside of like ultimate controller guides and things like that?
So we cover live letters, we cover the news, we cover patch notes, we cover interviews regularly. So first and foremost, when people just want to know what's going on in Final Fantasy XIV, that's not going to be things told to you right from your launcher, outside of maybe the patch notes, we typically are going to sum that up. So a lot of times that's a good place to start if you just want to know what's upcoming. That doesn't have a whole lot of information that caters to new players because you have so much content to clear before you get to us. And then from there, we cover a lot of what the community's going through. That could be our own personal reactions. That could be things of you guys here in the community. That could be going out and catching something on Reddit or in people's streams when something happens, when sometimes it's as simple as drama. Sometimes it's that there's something really goes wrong. Somebody gets banned for no reason, or there's a shift in some content, or something has turned out differently than those news posts we just talked about. That's where we can kind of talk about our thoughts. The vast majority of them are positive. That's why we've been playing this game. Brian, you've been playing this since like the beta to 1.0. I came in to join you in 2.0.
Yeah, I've got almost 5,000 hours logged into Final Fantasy XIV. I've got actually not as much now. There was a point where I remember crossing over that threshold of time for Final Fantasy XI. So my background is heavily in Final Fantasy XI. You'll hear me talk about that with lots of high praise. Yes, it has its struggles, and it's an interesting weird spot between retail and privately hosted fan-run community servers. And so that's kind of where I spend when I look at Final Fantasy. That's kind of where that comes into it. I've played every Final Fantasy that has come to the United States, and I remember being an avid fan. I remember playing and seeing an early release of 9 that was all in Japanese, and I was like, man, it's so funny. Like, if I was better in language, I think I would have tried to study Japanese, but I've struggled with English language as I'm dyslexic, and so I often will misspeak or say certain words, which drives certain people in the community absolutely freaking bonkers. I don't do it on purpose until it becomes a meme in and of itself, like Idly Shire or something of that nature. From that regards, I also love a lot of variety in terms of games. I tend to bite off more than I can chew, but I do enjoy Phantasy Star. I'm very much excited about New World this year, and I've been loving and adoring Guild Wars 2. And as a father of 5, chances are, like, I just kind of put a little bit of time in everything. I view myself as somebody who's not going to be first to cap in a certain game, but at the end of the day, I do end up getting there just through enough, just enjoyment. Like, I try to make sure that when I'm starting to feel that, like, I'm not really having fun, that I shift focus, because I tend to actually have the view that it's not really the game's fault. Like, if I just ate, like, I love like spaghetti and meatballs. I love spaghetti and meatballs. But if somebody was like, all right, great, you're going to eat that all day, every day for the rest of your life, there'd be a point where like that would be a nightmare to me. That would be just the worst thing after day 2, probably, in that regard. So I try to have and looking forward to like other games like Blue Protocol, just kind of like what's on the horizon, what's exciting to come, go play and see. So a lot
of great games coming up this year.
Oh, this year and next year, I think, especially after like just as people have adjusted to delays and shifting kind of their focus and having to work remote, it'll be neat to see when you start seeing like just big AAA after big AAA after, like, I think it's going to be a little bit overwhelming because a lot of people will probably be like, are just hungry for something, for like more content or something really to kind of bite their teeth into. It's an interesting experience for me from 1.0 to now. That's why I'm really excited to see Endwalker. I'm really excited to see the conclusion. I always like when they do give an homage to 1.0 for how bad it was at launch, to eventually where they got it into a good workable state. And then essentially and now we went into 2.0. It was like a thrilling experience. That's why for me, like, I adore ARR, but you don't go see me play ARR again. I have memories of what it was when it was in that time, and how like exciting it was, because this was a whole new, like, the world was destroyed and this is us discovering it again. So I've really appreciated that. And what we do hear a lot of, what you see a lot of here on the channel, which is exciting to see so many people sticking around, because we made our big pivot. We actually made it prior to the announcement, but if you go look back in October, like, we made our big pivot to that this is what Work to Game is. Chris and Brian collabing, talking about what's going on in these games. We did see obviously that subscriber dip when it's like, hey guys, just so you know, like, this is what's happening. But it's so exciting to see that as people come into the game and as people come back to the game, they're like, yes, this is this is one of the things that hopefully you guys enjoy.
And it won't just be 14.
Right.
This year, you and I both been adoring Guild Wars 2. Mm-hmm. New Worlds on the horizon, PSO2, New Genesis, Blue Protocol. I'm interested to see what this WoW TBC experiment ends up being.
I'm just excited
WoW
to see
Retail
in
theory gets content later this year, and that's just to name a few. So it won't just be 14. Obviously, coming off of Shadowbringers, going into Endwalker, 14 being a game that both you and I share, even though we have different backgrounds, it's going to be a huge portion of the content cycle. Right. It will be, because it's going to be a huge portion of what we play, but it's not going to be the only things we play, and therefore it's not going to be the only thing we talk about. I'm really looking forward to maybe adding ESO this year, maybe adding, Old Republic early next year. I don't know how the time will work on that. My background is in World of Warcraft. That's what got my start, and so that's where I come from things. As I've gone into full-time content creation as of January, I'm full-time, and that's given me a lot more time. Right at this exact moment, I'm live on stream, clicking signs for Housing Savage. And this weekend, for a charity event, Llama Todd invited me in to come clear actual Savage. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm trying all sorts of things outside my comfort zone. I'm replaying the game on ARR right now so I can get to know the story. And, I'm playing as a Roth. I thought about playing as a Limsa, but I as a Lala, but I love Lalas as much as I love sweet potatoes. So I had to pass on that.
Wait, I'm gonna flag that one for later. Go ahead.
So I definitely am enjoying the journey here, and that we're getting to share that with you guys. Like, what got me in 14 was that I was taking a break from WoW, and Brian had been trying to get me to try it, and 2.0 relaunch was like
years.
Okay.
Years.
Because when he described 1.0, it didn't really sell it. Every time I asked, he's like, you should play it, it's awesome. And then any follow-up question, there was like giant red flags going up that maybe this isn't going to be a good fit for me. He loved it, and so where have you come in, and like, what is your focus as far as your content? What drives the amount of time you get to spend in game?
So that's a great question. And in fact, actually kind of pivoting off of the Grumpy Gamer Dad, awesome name, asking, am I a full-time content creator? Chris is the full-time content creator, and like how I kind of envision it, he's the game and I'm the work. I would consider myself maybe at best a part-time content creator. I do have a passion for it. One of the things that Chris and I doing this channel starting at 5 years ago this August, really was like, man, I've always wanted to be a teacher. And when I looked at the things that I wanted in life, as a young adult, like as a young man. It's like I wanted a large family, and I married a woman who also was on board with that plan. And I also wanted a way to provide for that family, and teaching wasn't one of them. But I have a passion for that, and that's what guide making actually awakens in me in a way. Like it's like I love to share the things that I'm excited about, and if I can help somebody else, then that's great. I do the similar thing within programming. I mentor a lot of young programmers. You guys know some of them. I'm not going to name them because I like to just I don't know. I always like to keep what I do outside of like content creation a little private, but just so you guys know, I try to help people achieve the things that I can help them achieve because that's something I have a passion for. And so for my content, where I approach it is that I do have limited time. Like I do not have all the time in the world to game. So it's just about like, what do I want to work on in game that I'm excited about? And that's kind of where you see me focusing more on leveling content. I focus more on leveling content rather than savage content. I focus in on the content that I can do without having to worry about, like things slowing me down in terms, especially if I'm streaming it. Like if it's like, hey, here's what I need to do. And so I try to, a part of it is a balance within myself of trying to set realistic expectations, because it's like, yeah, I can't play games like I did when I was 20 because I have to get up in the morning and change some diapers and do these things, which I'm completely happy with. And so it's just the matter that, okay, what is reasonable, what's focusable, and so that's where leveling content really has taken the bulk of it. Where doing like guides around this certain content, teaching people how to play at that probably that beginning and to mid core kind of level. I have recently over this last year dove into parsing, and while I haven't stepped into Savage, my goal is like, can I be the best version of myself on this job? And what that means is that's Final Fantasy analytics. That's me looking at and having the report say, yes, I kept all my dots up. Yes, I was doing these things. Maybe I need to work on these areas, and just continue to try and push myself to my theoretical limit, which is fun for me. I'm not doing that as a way of saying that you also have to take that on. I just was like, hey, how can I take this game that I love and refresh it in new ways? So that's got me rating a lot more, and that's got me playing a lot more in these ways. And what I've done in the past is that whenever I don't have to get the kids up in the morning, I typically will get up early and I'll go grind out levels on some things. So you'll probably see me this summer leveling up a lot in Phantasy Star Online. The two with the new Genesis that same way. Oh, kids are asleep, I can go ahead and play. So my game time kind of is sporadic, but it usually kind of aligns with nap time, and or the kids are asleep, or I'll sit down and play a game with Julie, or I'll play with Chris 1 or 2 nights a week, and that kind of tends to be kind of the level of amount of investment that I can be able to put in games. And what happens with it from a content creation perspective, and this is my own thought on it, is that you'll see like full-time content creators like Chris, or you'll see like other like big ones that are just like, they just can able to do something so unique, and then they have that experience. Well, I'll never beat Chris to that. Chris will in Endwalker be able to beat me in certain, like, be able to have more time. He could theoretically out level me if he,
even when we play the same time, we level differently.
Oh yeah,
I level way more aggressively fast than you.
Yes, but on that same note is that like what I think I bring to not just us, but how work the game I think is fundamentally different, is that yes, I play a handful of other games, but I don't feel like I have to go chase the fads. It's like if I'm legitimately interested in the game, I want to bring that to you guys and talk to you guys about it. But I don't have to go and live or die off of if someone's going to give me a review code beforehand or something like that. Because it's just like, okay, I'll get to that game maybe, and that's the thing. It's like, Brian, are you gonna play Biomutant? I don't think I will. Like, maybe. Maybe I just don't have that on my radar, and I hope it's a great game. I always root for great ones, but that's my monologue. Chris, same question to you. How do you approach the game? How do you approach the experience?
So, I mean, I've traditionally been a pretty casual gamer in that, like, I've had jobs that I've worked. Gosh, the job I had during Stormblood, I worked 50 weekends a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working, 8 to 12-hour days, at least 6 days, 5 to 6 days a week. And so it was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm probably getting more game time in games now in a week than I was getting in most months. And so I'm just flying through. And so historically, since I've been more on the casual side, I've worked as far down the content as time allows. And so when I was in college during the summers and, I made a lot more time than I should have for games, I was aggressively raiding in WoW. But as life had less and less flexibility, as I chose to take on other commitments, such as jobs and getting married and buying a house and all these things, gaming just had to share my time with a lot more things. And so I can only get down. And my priority, first and foremost, was always to make sure I'm spending time with my friends. It's been a way of staying in touch. So I play games with my brothers. I play games with friends like Brian. And that's always been a goal. As time away from my wife, it's like, okay, and then I'm double dipping. So multiplayer games have been a huge part of that. So more and more over the years, I've had trouble finding time for single player games, even if I'm excited about them. And so that's been kind of my focus. And then I don't get to all the content. And so Extreme and Savage, for example, is one of those things that's always gotten trimmed because it represents this initial grind that if I take that initial grind and I apply it to other things, like trying other games, even just to like level up and get through the base dungeons and stuff, I get a lot more bang for my buck for my goals. And so I've typically played each MMO with one character, one class, one spec, whatever, and then played it to cap, and then played the cap content with friends as far as I can make it as time allows, and then pick up a different game. And so now what I'm enjoying is I'm leveling multiple jobs. I'm trying pieces of content that I've never been able to make time for. And my goal this year is to be successful at tanks in every game I play. And then I'd like to add healers as I move into next year. So I'd like to add healers to that. So I'm good at all of the tanks and all of the healers. I think that'll give me a much deeper understanding. And then in addition to that, also, I just like to all of it. Broader, deeper, all of it. I'm playing way more. And the goal is not to focus in on any one thing until I'm truly the expert. So I'll still probably be classified as equivalent to casual in any one category. And the goal is with this much time to play games, with 30 hours a week of game time, to play so many types of content that's where I'm hardcore. Is the amount of content I consume is hardcore, but I consume each one piece of content very casually. So I don't plan on jumping into World Progress and Savage just because I cleared some Savage over the weekend. I enjoyed it, but I will still watch World first, just like I was before. That hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my plan, is to be casually aware of more things. I love comparing things when we've been on things like podcasts and we've had guests on and they're like, oh, I love this thing about this other game. And it's not a game that I know. I'm really bummed that I can't understand what they're so excited to share with me.
Right.
It sounds like they're talking this other language, and it just feels like I'm not getting to reach out. And so I think doing the casual and into kind of the mid-core of most games will cover most of that. I'll be able to relate to most people here in chat, most people in the comments, most people in podcasts, most people that we may meet should we ever be allowed to do FanFest and stuff like that in person again. That's my goal. I want to be able to relate to more gamers because I just love being around gamers. And I love that we can address design concepts and controversy, supply shortage and all these things without the craziness that the world kind of puts on that. If I go out and I discuss politics, that's a quick way to not make a friend. But if you want to talk about the geopolitics coming out of the Bosnian Southern Front, we can talk about that till we're blue
all
in the face.
Day.
And I love that about gaming. And so that's what I want more of in my life. That's about it.
So, I mean, that's kind of that. And I guess one question, because a lot of people always ask kind of how we met and how we got started. If you're ever live, you can always type in command history or command origin if you want to watch that video. But as a general summary, you went to college with my brother. We became real good friends at that point too. And we would just spend especially after you graduated, we were just like once a week, we'd just have these hour-long conversations about video games and what's going on in Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft and MMOs and monetization and achievement systems and etc. And then it's like at some point we're like, well, maybe we just film this, and so that's kind of, there isn't a more just simple answer. We were just two guys that were just friends and hanging out and loving video games and just constantly talking about them. And it's like then we said, well, what does it take to put it out on the internet? And it turns out like it wasn't that much. All in, like, investment wise, is if you're ever looking or thinking about getting started, just make sure you have a good mic. The rest can take care of itself if you're having fun with it. All right, guys, that's going to conclude it for this video. Christian, got any final thoughts? Anything else? I think it was
no.
this,
My
it was
my
the,
understanding is that if you were to have a large fountain pouring water out over a city, that sort of thing could have maybe like a pump or something like that inside. It wouldn't require magic to create infinite water. That's my understanding. I've seen the clip of maybe people that haven't understood that. So it's a good time. We've all had those moments where we're pushing on a door and a kid walks up and pulls. So we've all had those moments. Unfortunately, in content creation, those moments are going to be clipped. So I will have those moments. I get it.
Yeah.
But they are funny and they are a good laugh. As long as nobody's getting hurt, watching somebody kind of slip and look a little silly verbally or otherwise is like, well, we've all been there.
So was the sweet potato line the hidden phrase?
Yeah. Actually, so I tried creating a lore character prior to my Roth, prior to Shadowbringers, and it was a Lala. It was a Lala.
All right, that's gonna get magic, Charlay, and Fountain. It's like, well, there is magic. I guess that whenever there's if you can't have a physics
magic.
answer,
it's just a pump. It is a big pump though. It's dumping a lot of water.
All right, cool. All right, guys, that's gonna.
Thanks for the subscriptions during that. Brian, what are you playing today?
Okay, today I'm playing some Final Fantasy XI Classic. Thanks to it's so crazy story. I guess at the end of this video, it's perfectly fine. No one will think that I'm trying to be a weird flex, cool man. So I've been playing with my friend Chris, aka Invictus, and his brother Ninja, and so we've been playing Final Fantasy XI Classic on a private server, and we've been playing that this weekend. And so Ninja actually has subscribed to the Work to Game here on Twitch, which was just that's so surreal. It's oh, hey, because he's a huge Final Fantasy XI fan. So it's just been kind of cool hanging out with him. He curses a lot. So whenever I'm streaming with him this weekend, it's I wouldn't be like, yay, it's work safe, work appropriate. No, it's definitely not. But it's been a lot of fun. And last night they helped me get my sub job unlocked. So I have my sub job system ready to rock and roll. So I figured I'd learn a little bit about Monk today. See if I can at least get that staged up and ready. So as I work on getting to 30 so I can unlock Samurai. That's going to be my plan for Final Fantasy XI. So that's what I'm doing today. Chris, what are you working on tomorrow?
Tuesday is Tanko Tuesday. We're going to try to be a better tank, but it is patch day and that takes precedence. So, of course I always want to be a better tank, but what we will be doing is we'll be going live early, on patch days. And so, because this video is going live, who knows when, just for future reference, the way patch days work is I go live exceedingly early. I try to get the content done in order from most spoilery to least spoilery so that I can take the spoil tag off my stream as early as possible. So by the time this goes live, I will probably already be working on, maybe even achieved my warrior relic, 535 best in slot relic. It's sitting at 515 right now, and my white mage has a 525 from my first extreme clear, and that feels weird. That feels weird. Let's get my main a better weapon.
Very nice. Congratulations on your clears. Thanks also to Lamatad for helping that, and also good job and good congratulations on the work done over charity on this weekend. Anyway, that's gonna wrap it up for this video, guys. For Work to Game, my name's Brian.
My name's Chris.
Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you have a fantastic day, and we hope to see you in our next one. But until then,
take care.